everyone by default has to be assumed to be following the mainstream if they don't explicitly state that they're against it. As I said in the previous video, most people aren't aware that they're wearing the mainstream lens. The reason we label people as either left or right in political terms is so that we can quickly judge their belief systems without having to go over them individually. I'm generalizing hard, but for example, if you're left, you're pro-abortion, and if you're right, you're anti-abortion. If you're left, you're anti-gun, and if you're on the right, you're pro-gun. If you're left, you're pro-immigration. If you're right, you're anti-immigration. If you're left, you're pro-welfare, and if you're right, you're anti-welfare. But the problem with being anti-mainstream is that we're diverse. Most people don't know and don't care to go against the mainstream. Now, my problem with the left and the right is that both sides are mainstream. Maybe for one or two squares of the mainstream bingo I made, you could say that they're strongly opposed to. The problem is that they happily follow 90% of the bingo card. They label each other as either far right or far left, but I label them both as far mainstream. There's absolutely no need for anyone to follow any of these squares. It's ridiculous because they view each other as diametrically opposed to each other, but they literally live the exact same way. Most people's opinions don't count for anything because they have no real power. So why does it matter that the politics are different when their lifestyles are the same? I have thought of two ways to assess how anti-mainstream people are to see if, when you meet someone, you can see if you get along in terms of lifestyle. We're trying to predict people's trustworthiness and opinions based on what we've already learned about them. The first is by threshold, as in, if their position is at a certain taboo level, as in it offends a certain number of people, you can trust them. Think of the most socially unacceptable opinions you can have, such as promoting raw meat. In terms of how taboo it is, you might give it a 7 because that's how negatively the general public might react to your lifestyle choice. Let's assume Goes, for example, only promotes raw meat, so we would give him a 7 in terms of being anti-mainstream. Another controversial opinion would be being anti-dog, and I understand there's degrees in hating dogs, as in some people only want bully breeds to be exterminated, but let's simplify it to say the position is anti-dog, and we'll give this taboo a 9. In my opinion, being anti-dog is far more controversial and taboo than promoting raw meat. You attract far more trolls to your channel and are far less able to gather support to your cause. Now, what we can do is we take the taboo number of the most extreme socially unacceptable position of the person we're speaking with and assume that everything equal or below this number they're totally against. Logically, if someone has a position so extreme in their rejection of society, surely everything below or equal to that is something they oppose, right? Let's test this theory. RHD is anti-cooking since he's raw vegan, but there's a problem. He is against eating meat personally, despite the fact that his position is much more extreme. Society has a pro-plant bias, yet he supports it. So already this methodology fails. The second methodology is the point system. You just take all of your anti-mainstream positions and you assign them points. So pro raw meat is 7 and being anti-dog is 9. So you have a channel like mine, which is both pro raw meat and anti-dog, and I would get 16 based on these two positions. I said earlier before that we have to assume the mainstream. So everyone you meet, including myself, starts off at 100 and then you minus points. The math formula is 100 minus open bracket A plus B plus C close bracket equals final score. A, B, C representing the taboo opinion someone may have, and you can have more letters if you want. You just have to adjust it to make the total number of positions equal to 100 so you don't get a negative number. The value of an opinion is also based on opinion, so this is subjective. This is a better method than the first, but it still falls short because just because someone has a low mainstream score doesn't mean that they're trustworthy or untrustworthy, because they could have a lot of minor anti-mainstream opinions but have a huge pro-mainstream opinion or vice versa. IHG falls into the latter. IHG is anti-dog and pro-raw food, but he's vegan and promotes supplements along with other opinions I can't mention on YouTube. The most efficient way to assess people's opinions is to print out this bingo card and hand it to someone and tell them, cross out all the positions you're against. After they hand it back to you, decide whether or not you want them in your life.